Yeah, we are now good to go. So over to you, Kat.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nim Kadam from the e-exporting team at the Department for International Trade. Today, we will be hearing from Kat Brooks at Amazon about selling to Europe and Alex Wyatt at Simply VAT on European tax issues, followed by Q&A. Before I hand over to Kat, I would just like to take a few minutes to tell you about help for UK companies from the Department for International Trade. DIT has a number of services designed to help your companies, whether you are just starting to export or increase your exports to existing and new markets. The e-exporting program was set up in 2014 to help UK companies to sell through online channels specifically. There are four main services which you can see on your screen now that we offer. First of all, we partner with marketplaces around the world like Amazon and negotiate exclusive deals with marketplaces, such as reduction in platform fees, reduced commission rates, and other introductory offers. Secondly, we have a tool called Selling Online Overseas, which I will show you in an upcoming slide. Thirdly, we run great promotions with partner marketplaces. This is where we negotiate free merchandising adverts for brands, typically on a marketplace homepage. Finally, we have a network of e-commerce advisors who are located around the UK who can help businesses one-to-one with anything from troubleshooting marketplace seller account issues, introducing logistic suppliers, working with integrators, and so on. E-commerce advisors can also provide market research, data gathering, website optimization, and anything e-commerce related. The slide on your screen shows the great.gov.uk website, and this shows where you can find out more about the DIT e-exporting program. You can also find some case studies of UK brands who are doing well on marketplaces internationally, and where you can also access the Selling Online Overseas tool that I mentioned, which is located under the services link in the top right hand of the screen shown here. This is what the Selling Online Overseas tool looks like. It's basically a marketplace finder where you can search by product type and country which you are interested in selling to. The tool will then show you a list of marketplaces in that country which are potentially relevant to your business. The search results explains how the marketplace works with seller fees, payment info, any translation help, and provides a form for you to fill to join a marketplace directly through the Department for International Trade, allowing you to take advantage of any relevant DIT special offers or a link to apply to the marketplace directly. That's it for me, so without further ado, I would like to hand over to the first presenter, Kat of Amazon.
Hi guys, so my name's Kat. I've been at Amazon for nearly 2 years. I'm an associate partner manager in the Pan-European FBA program. So I mainly help sellers on board onto the program and also help them expand into Europe in general. So I just wanted to start. I imagine that we've got quite a mix of people here. So we might have some people who don't sell on Amazon, but maybe are thinking about it. Maybe some people who already sell on Amazon, but only in the UK. Maybe some people who actually already sell across Europe. So I'm going to kind of recap a few things and start from some basics. So first of all, I just want to emphasize what the opportunity is in Europe and why you should start selling in Europe through Amazon. So if you look at those numbers there, they are actually the million monthly unique visitors for each country's Amazons. So I think a lot of people who sell only the UK assume that the UK is the biggest marketplace, when in fact Germany is. And obviously, if you look at just selling in the UK, you're only going to reach those 34 million. I mean, it's already a huge number. But just by doing a few simple steps, you can then reach 130 million plus customers, which obviously is such a kind of unique opportunity. Not many marketplaces are going to have that kind of number of customers. And, you know, if you are doing really well in the UK, and your products are quite are not, you know, super UK specific, then there isn't a reason why you shouldn't, you know, get to similar levels of sales in other marketplaces as well. So if you're looking to grow your business, it's a really great way to do this. So I'm just going to start with, if you are already selling on Amazon, you might be wondering, okay, how do I then create my listings in the European marketplaces? So there are a few different ways to do it. The best way to do it is usually to go onto the Build International Listings tool, which is it's in Seller Central, it's in Inventory, and then Sell Globally, and then there's a little button for it at the top. What this essentially does is it looks at all of your ASINs which are live on the UK marketplace, and it offers against those same ASINs in the other European marketplaces. So the chances are, if you're a reseller, then those ASINs are probably going to already exist in the other marketplaces. So it's literally a click of a few buttons, and then you'll be live. Your listings will be live in those marketplaces. If you do need to get translations because maybe the ASINs don't already exist, maybe they're your own products, your own branded products, then there are a few different ways as well that you can get translations. Some people do go with automatic translations, so things like Google Translate. But obviously, if you want to have kind of higher quality listings, then it's a good idea to kind of get some people to translate it. So there are a number of different ways to get paid translations. A lot of sellers kind of use students and friends to do this, and so they don't have to pay as much. And then obviously once you have those translations, then you can upload the listings into each of the marketplace. So I'm just going to talk a bit, you know, now you've kind of covered the listing side of things. In terms of more the fulfillment side, if you aren't already selling on Amazon, or if you are selling on Amazon but not using FBA, I'm just going to quickly go across what FBA is. So essentially this is where you take your stock and you send it into an Amazon fulfillment center, and we store it there. We pick, pack, and ship it to the customer when they order it off our website. So why would you do this? So first of all, you get the Prime badge. I'm sure everybody knows what Prime is. Probably a lot of you are Prime customers yourself. I know that when I order on Amazon, I always filter for Prime, and it's something that we see a lot of customers do. So it really does help with things like winning the buy box. It helps with your rankings in the search. And yeah, it's kind of the ultimate. Obviously, next day delivery is going to increase your sales as customers are more and more wanting that. It also obviously reduces a lot of work from your side, a lot of complexity and risk by kind of trusting us with everything customer service wise for the delivery is all in the local language of that country. Returns are going to be easier because they'll get sent back to the different fulfillment centres, and obviously we have a huge network of these centres. And then through our exporting option, which I will touch upon a little bit later, you've got access to all these different countries. And through FBA, you also have access to the following programs, which is what I'm going to talk through. So all of these European programs that I'm discussing now, they are FBA programs. Obviously, if you're not selling FBA and you do want to go into Europe, it will just be, you'll kind of be left to your own devices to get all of the shipping right and kind of strike up those deals with your shipping companies. So yeah, the three programs, as I said, they're all FBA programs, and the ones I'm going to go through, so European Fulfillment Network, which EFN, multi-country inventory, MCI, and then the pan-European FBA, so pan-EU we call it. So the European Fulfillment Network is usually the best way to start if you haven't sold in Europe before. Essentially what it is it's kind of business as usual. So you'll continue to ship your inventory into a UK fulfillment center as you would with your UK listings. And at the same time, we would use the methods that I kind of discussed earlier about getting your listings. So you put your listings up onto amazon.de, .es, .fr, and .it. And then when a customer goes onto one of those websites, they can see your product, they can order it, and then it will get sent directly from the UK fulfillment centre to the customer in that country. So obviously, because we're kind of taking one unit and sending it across the border, it's going to be slightly more expensive than your UK fulfillment. So there is a bit of an extra cross-border fee on top of that. And also the delivery speed is not going to be great, so it's maybe normally 3 to 5. It does have the Prime badge, but it's normally a 3 to 5 day delivery promise. So this is normally great if you've never sold out of UK before. You're kind of testing the waters a bit, seeing whether certain products are going to do well and which ones are going to be the best sellers. And then once you've kind of figured that out, one route that some sellers do go down is the multi-country inventory. So what you would do, rather than sending everything into the UK, you would actually split your stock yourself and then send some into the fulfillment center in, say, Germany, France, and Italy and Spain. This is quite good for people who maybe have a really high demand in both UK and Germany and not so much in the other countries. So you might want to split your stock, send a load to Germany, and then the advantages of this is that you're only going to be charged the local FBA fee. So when I say local FBA fee, this means the fee that, maybe, for example, if it was in Germany, the fee that a German seller would pay for storing their stock in a German fulfillment center and then sending to a German customer. So there's not going to be that added cross-border fee that I was just discussing. It's not exactly the same as the UK fees, but it is pretty similar. So you'll basically be paying lower costs than EFN, and also because your stock is already in that country, the chance of you getting a next day delivery is going to be much higher, which again is often a big driver of sales. And as it says on the slide as well, so if you do send to just Germany, you can still use EFN to serve the other 3 countries. So you could use EFN to serve Italy, as obviously Germany is a bit closer to Italy than the UK is going to be. It's still going to be that extra cross-border fee, but it's going to be a little bit quicker than if it was straight UK to Italy. And then the kind of flagship European program that we've created, this is where most sellers would kind of aim to get to. It's the most sophisticated. It's the most sophisticated way to sell across Europe. Is the Pan-European FBA program. This is where if your ASIN is listed across all 5 marketplaces, then you are able to send all of your stock into the UK. And when you send it in on inbound, it will be split. So at the moment, it is split and it's kind of spread across the UK, so that the most of the UK can get that next day delivery promise and that super quick delivery. So instead of just going across the UK with the Pan-European FBA, you send it in, we split it, and we place it all the way across Europe. And this means 2 things. So this means you are only ever going to pay the local fulfillment fee for that country. So again, you're not going to be paying the cross-border fee. You're only going to be paying what the FBA fee is in each of those countries. The second thing is, you're going to have the increased chance of next day delivery across the whole of Europe. So you're going to be accessing a load of customers. And again, it's not just in these 4 European countries. There's also all of the countries around it who use, their local country site. They will also be able to get it a lot quicker to them. So this is going to be a big driver of sales. I think the main kind of issue with the Pan-European program that sellers find is the complication around the VAT. And I'll let Alex go into the VAT in a moment, because she's more of an expert than me, and it is a bit complex. But once you kind of got the numbers in place, then we would always say this is the ultimate kind of flagship program for growing your sales. So yeah, I'll just go quickly through. I think I've probably covered some of these already, but some benefits and drawbacks of each of these programs. So obviously with EFN, if you haven't sold out of Europe before, it probably is the one with the least amount of effort, because you are doing, once you've uploaded your listings, it is literally business as usual. You're just sending everything into the UK fulfillment centre still. the fees are higher for this. So that cross-border selling fee, on average, I think the difference is maybe 1 to 2 euros per unit, which obviously can add up to quite a lot. There is the functionality to put a pricing rule on it, so you can say that you want it to be slightly more expensive than your UK listings, to kind of cover that that extra fulfillment fee, so that you're getting a similar amount of margin from all of your sales. But at the same time, that 3 to 5 day delivery promise is it is going to impact on the potential that your products could sell in these marketplaces. Advantages for MCIs, obviously you have control. So if you know that you've got amazing demand in Italy, then you can decide, okay, we're going to put some stock into Italy. Again, VAT implications will occur there, but I'll let Alex go into that. I guess, obviously, and then you'll get that next day delivery, so you'll be able to push those sales in Italy even further. The disadvantage, you will have to split the stock yourself, so it's going to be a bit of extra work. You're going to have to do some demand forecasting to figure out, try and make sure that you're not going to be out of stock and you're not going to be getting that EFN fee. And obviously sending the stock there yourself is a bit more costly than kind of letting us do it. So with Pan-European, it is the cheapest option, because you're always going to, as long as ASIN is active in 5 marketplaces, you are always going to get that Pan-EU fee, which is just the local fee for each country. Again, you're only going to have one inventory pool, so as long as your product is the same across Europe, then that's when you would use the Pan-EU program, and then you can still send everything into the UK. It is the easiest thing because you don't need to demand anything. We do all the work for you, and everything is automatic from our side. And then obviously you're going to have the increased amount of chances to have that next day delivery across the whole of Europe. And then in terms of the downside, obviously the VAT, the complexity around that, which Alex will discuss. So this is, I guess, for more advanced sellers that are maybe thinking about doing the Pan-European program and maybe at that stage. There are 2 things that you can do to help the placement logic on its way. So obviously we use an algorithm which takes into account, loads of different data points to predict where your demand is and therefore where we want to ship your stock to. So the 2 bits of advice really is that we normally advise for you to have a minimum inventory threshold. So if you the advice amount is 4 weeks worth of cover. So if you have below 4 weeks worth of cover, then we're very conservative about taking stock away from the UK marketplace and putting it in the rest of Europe. This is because if we take some stock out to send to Germany, it's being transshipped for a bit of time, and in that time you then go out of stock in the UK, and then you're not fulfilling orders for your UK customers and your UK demand. That's a situation that we would like to avoid. So this is why we would always, recommend to have 4 weeks worth of stock in there, and then we will happily kind of split it out. It doesn't matter if some stock is traveling for a few days a week, because you're going to have enough in the UK, and then you'll have enough in Germany as well. The other advice, this is especially true for if you don't have much European sales history, is to inbound into multiple locales. So you're kind of using a bit of a hybrid between Pan-EU and MCI. So you'll have Pan-EU activated, but to help it along its way a little bit and to get those that sales history so that the algorithm works a bit better, you can send a few shipments out to the other European countries. So I know quite a lot of sellers who decide to do this. And then, it means you're going to get that next day delivery promise straight away. So the final thing I'll kind of just cover is the FBA export. So all this is it's a setting in your Seller Central. So it's literally the flick of a switch, and it essentially means that customers from other countries can come onto the 5 European marketplaces. They can come on to their websites and order. They can pay a bit extra delivery, and then they can get it sent to that customer. So an example of this would be if you don't have export activated, then somebody who lives in Ireland would not be able to order from Amazon.co.uk. They would not be able to order your ASIN and get it sent to them. A very common example as well is Germany does have quite a lot of exports. So a customer from maybe Austria, there isn't an Austrian Amazon marketplace. There is only the 5 marketplaces which I've kind of touched upon. So if somebody from Austria orders from Amazon.de, only if you have export activated will they be able to go on and order that product. So you don't have an extra charge for this. The slightly extra delivery is going to be up to the customer to pay. And it's it's expanding a lot, so it's now kind of gone worldwide. So if somebody has it might even be someone from the UK has moved to another country and wants to get something from Amazon.co.uk, then if you have this activated, they'll be able to order from there. One last thing, actually. So just a couple of tips on how to kind of grow on Amazon. So these are the 5 kind of main things that we help sellers to do. So first of all, use Seller University. It's very underutilized. There's so much content on there. If you don't know, if you've not been on it before, then just search Seller University in the help page. This is true for people who haven't started with Amazon as well. There are loads of great videos and PDF content to go through, and you can kind of teach yourself about loads of different things to do with Amazon. We also have the Seller Central app, which if you don't have it downloaded and you are already selling on Amazon, go download it now. Super useful. There's loads of functionality. They're doing loads of cool stuff with it coming up as well. And it's just really useful to have all these metrics kind of in your pocket. Brand registry and EBC, if you do own a brand and you're not sure what these are, again, go on Seller University, learn about them. They're great ways to push your brands forward, get brand awareness, and increase your sales on Amazon. Sponsored products and deals are the kind of classic ways to go about it. So sponsored products is where you're kind of bidding to get your product to be shown towards the top of the product listing page, and then deals, you're offering a discount and you're getting more visibility on that as well. So they're kind of consistently ways to grow your account. And then also pricing tools. So have an experiment with the pricing tools. You can set prices to be, below the next kind of winning the buy box price. And you can also, if you're a brand owner, you can also set a rule based on the amount of units that you're selling. So if some stock's not shifting, then you can actually set a pricing rule to kind of decrease the price to try and move the stock a bit quicker. It's really great for doing some experiments like that. So I definitely would encourage you to check that out. Cool. And then that's all from me. So I'll pass you over to Alex now.
Hi, everyone. My name's Alex Wyatt. I'm the head of business development at simplyvat.com. We specialize in helping e-commerce businesses with their international VAT obligations. So I'm just going to have a really complimentary presentation to Kat and outline how the fulfillment settings affect your VAT obligations. So there are 2 main triggers to requiring a VAT registration. The first one is holding stock within an EU country, and the second is exceeding a distance selling threshold within a calendar year. So each of the fulfillment services Amazon provides will have a different VAT obligations associated with them. When you are selecting your fulfillment options, consider which fulfillment option is best suited for your business and its expansion plans throughout the EU. So if you're only storing your goods in the UK as a UK registered business, you do not need a VAT registration here in the UK until you exceed the VAT registration threshold of £85,000 within a 12-month period. Now, with that being said, if you are selling cross-border into the EU and exceed a distance selling threshold before you reach the local UK £85,000 threshold, you will need to become VAT registered in that specific EU country where you have exceeded the threshold. In the case that you're sending goods to customers outside the EU from fulfillment centers inside the EU, the distance selling rules no longer apply, and sales that leave the EU are 0 rated for VAT purposes. So what are these distance selling rules? The rules state that VAT should be charged locally until the distance selling thresholds set by each EU tax authority are exceeded in that country within a calendar year. So in most EU countries, the threshold is set at 35,000 euros or the local currency equivalent. And then the only countries where the threshold differs are in Germany, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, where it is set at 100,000 euros or the currency equivalent. And if you're selling into the UK from, say, a German fulfillment center, the UK has a distance selling threshold of £70,000. So please note that the distance selling thresholds are based on your net sales, exclusive of VAT. So this means that you can access all 28 EU countries from just one location in terms of VAT compliance obligations. So we usually tell sellers to start off with using the EFN network because this is the best way to start, as you are able to test the different EU markets without a heavy cost of compliance in terms of resources or cost. And if you don't register for VAT, the tax authorities will issue penalties and interest payments for late or non-compliance. So it's important to make sure you're on the ball in terms of VAT. So with the multi-country inventory option, you get to choose which countries your goods are stored in. So you'll need to make sure that you are VAT registered in each country that you're storing your goods in before the first sale in order to be fully compliant. Once the goods are within the fulfillment center, ensure that you're charging the rate of VAT based on the sale departure country. If you're listing your product at the same price on each market, make sure that the price you set can manage the fluctuation of VAT rates across the different markets. So in Germany, the standard VAT rate is 19%, whereas in Italy is 22%. So you need to ensure that your margins are not affected from this set price. The distance selling rules will also apply, so it's important to track the thresholds when selling cross-border to each individual country. If you're using the Pan-EU program, your goods will be stored in 7 EU countries. So these countries are the UK, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Poland, and the Czech Republic. So even though your goods aren't listed on a Polish or Czech marketplace, your goods are still being fulfilled from those specific countries. Your goods are therefore stored in all of Amazon's 5 EU markets and the 2 additional countries, so you need to make sure that you're filing the VAT returns, annual VAT reports, control statements, SAFT filings, and EC sales lists. So here you need to charge the rate of VAT based first on where the goods are stored, the sale departure country. And then you also need to manage the distance selling thresholds when selling cross-border throughout the EU. So for example, if your goods are held in the German warehouse as part of the Pan-EU program, a customer from Austria can purchase off Amazon.de. So up until the threshold is met, you will be charging the 19% VAT rate from Germany. And if you cross the distance selling threshold of 35,000 euros in Austria, you will be required to VAT register in Austria and begin to charge Austria's rate of VAT, which is 20%. So with Brexit of reality, it's important to understand how it's going to impact your UK-based business and allow you time to prepare. So as a UK-based business, fiscal representation now might be required in order to be VAT registered in some EU countries. A fiscal representative is someone who is jointly or severely liable for the VAT owed, and they're required in quite a lot of EU countries in order for companies or individuals to get VAT registered. As the fiscal representative is jointly liable, there are extra costs or sometimes bank guarantees that are required in order to use their service. So as part of the Pan-EU program, it will be required in France, Spain, Italy, and Poland. So you'll need fiscal representation moving forward. You will need an additional EORI number from an EU country in order to import into the EU. The EORI number tracks any imports to your company and will allow you to reclaim import VAT on your VAT returns. When selling your goods to customers within the EU from the UK, you will have to import your goods into the EU, as any cross-border transactions from the UK to the EU will be seen as an export from the UK and an import into the EU. This means you'll have to decide who will be the importer of record for each of your items being shipped cross-border. So will it be you or will it be the customer responsible to pay the VAT? If you wish to pay these import duties, you will have to be VAT registered in each EU country that you import your goods. And you will have to fund the additional costs associated with VAT compliance within the countries that you're importing into. So a few different things to think about is you could store your goods in one EU country so that you do not have to VAT register in each EU country where your customers are located. So once your goods have been imported directly into this one EU country, you're then able to sell your goods to customers in other EU countries without the need for multiple VAT registrations, as you are still able to utilize the distance selling thresholds. So you can do this by using the multi-country inventory on Amazon. And I typically suggest that you start holding your stock potentially in Germany because it is the largest market within Europe. And then when choosing which country would be best for you to hold your stock in, think about where you have the most sales, if a fiscal representative is required, the warehousing fees, and the VAT rate applied in this country, as all of these factors will affect your decision. And then a few last things to think about as a business trading cross-border. So firstly, charge the VAT rate based on the sale departure country first. There are other options such as destination taxation, but you must opt into this at specific times of the year. So ask your tax agent or contact us for further information about this. VAT rates within the EU range from 17% in Luxembourg and go up to 27% in Hungary. So ensure that the different VAT rates can fit within the margins you've set. Each country will have a standard VAT rate and a reduced VAT rate, and in the case of the UK and Ireland, a zero rate. With your products, make sure that you're charging the correct rate of VAT, and note that they can change dependent on the country. So for example, children's clothing is zero rated in the UK, but standard rated in most other EU countries. And lastly, each country has different reporting requirements. Germany, you file monthly. Spain, you file quarterly. In Poland and Czech Republic, there's additional VAT reports, SAFT, and control statements. So ensure that your country's requirements are being fulfilled, or you could be facing any fines or penalties on that. That's it for my presentation.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Alex, Kat, and Nin. Apologies at the start for handing over to the wrong person, but I think we got there in the end. Some really interesting content, which has meant that we have got some quite in-depth questions to answer, so hopefully you're ready for those now. So just to remind you, if you've got any questions regarding the presentation, please type them in the Q&A session, and the panelists can then see them and assign them to me so I can read them out. So the first one is actually regarding alcohol duty from Chris Smart. They produce and sell gin. How would the alcohol duty work for selling into the EU? Do we just pay UK duty?
So I'll just quickly touch on alcohol in general. So I've had another question as well saying, can we sell alcohol from UK to USA? So in terms of alcohol with FBA, which is my department, I can't really comment on it from just a kind of normal selling on Amazon perspective. But through FBA, we don't yet have something in place which allows the sale of alcohol. This is because there has to be some age verification upon delivery. And I think to be honest, I'm not sure if in the UK it's even figured out yet. So at the moment, there isn't anything in place for having alcohol, for example, on the Pan-European program. I'm sure that one day there will be, but yeah, at the moment it doesn't exist.
Okay, hopefully that clarifies that. Any comments from you, Alex, on that, or should we go to the next question?
Just from my point of view, we don't specialize in excise duty for alcohol. However, we do have partners that do. So if you want to reach out to us, we can get you connected with the right person that can help you with any excise duty questions.
Okay, fantastic. The second question is from Ella Round Prestes. As a question regarding the Pan-EU, could you clarify how it works?
Yeah, so I'll try and put it as simple as possible. So essentially, with Pan EU, you need to have 5 offers of an ASIN or of a product for those who don't yet sell on Amazon. So you have to have your product live in the 5 European marketplaces. So it's visible to people who log on to Amazon.es, and they can purchase it. So that's what I mean by live. Once it is live, you can so you can have a look into the Pan-European program. So what happens practically is that you send your stock into one marketplace. So let's just say for example that you want to continue sending into the UK. You can send a load of your stock into a UK fulfillment center. We will then split it, and we'll send some to France, Italy, Germany, Spain, also Czech and Czech Republic and Poland. So we will spread the stock across those countries, and then they will be available for people across Europe to log on to Amazon.es and purchase and hopefully get it next day, as often as possible, or very quick delivery at least. Obviously, as Alex has just kind of gone into, there are implications for doing this program. So it is best practice to kind of have your VAT numbers in place, and then you can start going with it. So the main advantages of it are that you're going to be paying the lowest cost possible for doing European FBA, and you're also going to be increasing the chances of having the next day delivery promise, and those two things combined should then push your sales up and increase those to kind of the maximum potential that you've got in Europe.
Okay, there's actually a follow-on question also from Ella that says, in the MCI and Pan EU options, if their product has 0% VAT, do I have any VAT implications?
Yes. So like I said, only UK and Ireland have 0 rates. So if you are holding your stock under the MCI or the Pan EU programs, you will have to make sure that you are checking out what your VAT rates are in each of those specific countries, because that 0 rate will no longer apply once your product is moved within the other EU countries. So make sure you get registered wherever you choose to hold your stock, and that you're checking out that local VAT rate so that you're making sure you're including the VAT rate in your margins.
Okay, fantastic. Ella also has products with 60 days shelf life. I'm curious what they sell. Would you recommend the Pan-European option for that?
So I'll just quickly touch upon if anybody else does have any food products, because I imagine that's what this is, maybe not, but anything that is a consumable, so has ingredients in it and that we maybe apply to our skin or we eat. First of all, for Pan-European, you need to have one kind of stock inventory. So this means that you'll need to get the ingredients translated into the 4 other European languages in order to get onto the Pan-European program. So it needs to have a label with all 5 languages on, kind of outlining the ingredients. Unless it is a mono ingredient, something like coffee, then you don't need to have the translated label. But if it's something with ingredients, then you will need to get that label translated. And a lot of sellers do it. You can see when you, as a consumer, that a lot of labels have quite a few different languages. So that's kind of that part of the question. Would I recommend the program? I think it absolutely could work with 60-day shelf life. I think you would just need to make sure that your sales history is there before you start, because obviously you wouldn't want anything to be transshipped to somewhere that too much to be transshipped to a certain place. I would recommend maybe starting with MCI to do a bit of an experiment on how many sales you get in each country, essentially. And once that sales history is built up, then the algorithm should be very accurate in sending your stock to there so that it would sell within the kind of allocated time period. I think that's what it's about. It's just making sure that their sales history is strong and consistent.
Okay, that's good. Just a reminder, there's a few questions coming in on the chat. And it's quite hard to moderate the chat and the Q&A. So if you could repeat the question in the Q&A, then the panelists can look at it that way. So the next question is from Jack O'Neill, saying, if his stock is in an Amazon warehouse, are they responsible for collecting the VAT, or are they? Is Jack, basically.
Yeah, so you as the seller are responsible to collect the VAT on your sale, on any sales that you have. So it's important to make sure that you're including that VAT in your margins, because sometimes if you've been selling in the States or Canada for a little bit, over there the VAT or the sales tax is included or it's added on checkout. Whereas here in Europe, you need to ensure that you are including that in the price listed on Amazon. And then it's your requirement to then take that money and then pass that on to the relevant tax authorities alongside the VAT returns. So make sure that you are collecting it. Amazon is not collecting that for you here in Europe.
Okay, and the follow-on question, which I think is maybe related from Jack, is who is storing the stock?
Well, you would decide where your goods are being held. So under your Fulfillment by Amazon settings in your Seller Central, you can change your options there. And then it would then be down to Amazon to be fulfilling those orders, depending on where your stock is being held.
Okay. Question here from Nicola Dickinson. She wants to sort of have a bit of a guide of what a good figure of stock to be reaching of sales within Germany, for instance, before considering an MCI. I suppose it's sort of what threshold are we getting to?
Yeah, so I haven't really got like a solid answer for this. So it's totally kind of dependent on your business. You guys know your business best. You can do a lot of kind of cost analysis on, okay, you can do that research. Okay, how much is it going to cost me to send, a parcel to Germany, to the German fulfillment center? How much is that going to cost? And then it's good to experiment. So if you do send a parcel there, you can see what effect on sales that it has having that next day delivery. And then you can make a kind of informed decision. Okay, should we start doing this all the time? Obviously, make sure that you've got the VAT number before doing that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of trial and error, and it's a bit of initiative about your business and about kind of what is the next step for you. How do we now kind of push these sales forward?
Okay, we've got plenty of questions coming in, so we push on. A question here from Rise what about intrastat requirements?
Yes, so the intrastat requirements, so that's where you're, when you're trading cross-border, but the intrastat thresholds are quite large, and they are dependent, they're broken down into arrivals and dispatches. So these, they are very large dependent on the country. I have a template as well, or an outline, a guide outlining each of them, if you want to get in touch, and I can send that out to you. But once you do surpass the intrastat threshold, whether it be arrivals or dispatches, you then have a requirement to file monthly intrastat reports in that country from then on until, for however long you stay above that threshold. So it is good to monitor those thresholds, but they are very, very high, so just make sure that you're monitoring those.
Okay. Ben Cottam says, do the distance selling thresholds reset every year? Yes,
they do. So at the end of the calendar year, if you haven't crossed over the distance selling thresholds, then you will be able, they go back down to zero, December 31st at midnight, and then you restart over. If you cross over a distance selling threshold within a year, you then have to VAT register, and then you have to stay VAT registered. So it doesn't go back, even if you registered, say, in October because you crossed over the threshold, you then still have to stay registered into the new year. It doesn't go away. Once you're registered, you stay registered.
Okay. Question from Bradley Nelson. I'm going to try and sort of say this succinctly. Basically, he's asking, what Amazon website does an EU customer visit when they are not from the UK, Spain, Germany, France, Italy, etc.? I.e., does an Austrian consumer, when they type Amazon.com, get redirected to another site?
So as far as I'm aware, no, there's no kind of redirection that goes on. If you type into your URL bar now, Amazon.com, you will go to Amazon.com, the US
Hmm.
version. So it's more kind of it's more kind of what they know. So Amazon.de is the one that the Austrian customers would go to, and it's kind of like a common known thing because it's the closest marketplace to them. So UKES, DEFRIT, they all have their own site, so Amazon.es. So if you're in a surrounding country, then you would just go to your nearest country's Amazon, and then the interface would be the same, apart from only the ASINs that are allowed to be exported would be buyable for those customers.
Okay. Bradley's got another question here saying regarding VAT. If my good is distributed from one country but is sold to a country where I've reached the distance selling threshold, which country do I pay the VAT in?
So when you reach the distance selling threshold, you are now going to be paying the VAT in the country of arrival of the goods. So typically in the VAT world, you are paying VAT on the sale departure country. Once you cross over a distance selling threshold, you then get VAT registered in the country of arrival, and then you start declaring any sales from that, from say the UK to France. You'll start declaring it in France from that point on, once you're VAT registered.
Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes, so the questions are still coming in. Just a reminder, the session is recorded and the slides will be distributed after the event. So another question from Ben Cotton. Can images be different on different marketplace listings for the same ASIN on the pan-European program?
They can't be different, no. So it's got to be the same across the marketplaces. This is why we normally ask that there's no text. Obviously, if it's going to be in one language, then it's going to maybe look a bit strange to customers on the other marketplaces. So the images do have to be consistent. The description obviously can be completely different as it needs to be in a different language. So but the images do need to stay the same.
Okay, next question from Ruth Lynn or Line. Would you say Amazon is best for selling ready-made products and not bespoke items?
So the kind of options that I've discussed here are definitely better for kind of ready-made products. There isn't really a pan-European option for bespoke. At the same time, there is a special program that is for bespoke items. So we have Handmade, which is a kind of a program with Amazon. I don't know a huge deal about it because it's not my department, but if you have a Google on that, if you search for that, then there should be more information. And it's a program that sellers can put up kind of, I guess, bespoke items that are made to order, and it gets a lot of traction. So I would have a look into that.
There's a follow-up question from Bradley Nelson around VAT. He's asking, could you clarify what you said when discussing the distance selling threshold and the zero-rated VAT? Is it clear that if I go over the threshold, I must pay VAT, and does it not qualify as zero-rated?
Yeah. So, for example, if you're selling, say, children's clothing, and you're using the EFN network, or you're just holding your stock in the UK, it's then zero rated. Now, if you cross over a distance selling threshold to say Italy, you will then need to VAT register in Italy, and your products will no longer be zero rated because Italy does not have a zero rate. So you need to make sure that you're checking the local country's VAT rates for your products, because now that you've crossed over that distance selling threshold, you'll be losing that between 20 to 22, 23% when you cross over the threshold if you don't account for the VAT after you cross over the distance selling threshold. So just make sure, again, monitor your distance selling thresholds and check which VAT rates apply to your products in the relevant countries.
Okay. A question here from Henry Clay. With Pan EU, How do the individual markets decide what volumes of units are required for storage? Storage is a user cost with FBA, so it's important not to overstock.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. So with the Pan-European program, as I said, it's all down to the algorithms. So there are a lot of different data points that are used to predict what the demand will be for your products in a certain marketplace. And we use that prediction to split your stock and ship it to the other countries. One advantage of the Pan-European program is that if something is not selling, it's it's slow moving, then we will go into the warehouses, take it out, and send it to another country where maybe it's a bit faster moving. So we do constantly kind of readjust the stock across Europe, which is a really big advantage because maybe we made a mistake, we send a load of stock to Italy and it's sat there for a bit too long. So we take that initiative, we go back in, we say, okay, no, this is selling really well in Germany, so we're going to put it there instead. So yeah, there is a kind of advantage of that with the Pan-European program.
Okay. Kate Ailey is asking, what are the 5 languages you need for Pan-European?
So they are. So it's the languages of the marketplaces. So it's obviously English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So as long as it's got those 5 languages, obviously people from other European countries do shop on those Amazon sites. But if somebody from that country is buying on Amazon.es, then we would expect the customer will know that if this is a label issue, the customer will know that the label is going to be in Spanish. They will expect that. So that's why we say those are the key, the 5 languages that we need.
Okay, now we've got about 5 more minutes. There's still more questions, quite a lot more. Apologies if we've missed any. There's one from Angela Armitage, says, is there any chance you can just recap on the VAT for Pan-EU? I'm not VAT registered here in the UK where I'm based, as my sales do not currently reach the £85,000 threshold or €10,000 in Germany.
Okay.
Sorry, 100,000 euros.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So if you're enrolled on the Pan-EU program, there's no thresholds to exceed in the other EU countries. So you need to be VAT registered right from the very beginning, because Amazon will be moving your products between all the other 6 EU countries. So in those other 6 EU countries, you need a VAT registration right away. And even though in the UK you may not have reached that £85,000 turnover. And that £85,000 turnover is any sales from the UK as well. So just keep that in mind. So in response to that, there is no threshold under the Pan-EU. So if you haven't reached 100,000 euros in Germany, that 100,000 euros is only if you're selling cross-border, so from one EU country directly to private customers in Germany. If you're holding your products there, you need to be VAT registered.
Okay. Seraphim Mavarakis has said, well, they've just registered with Amazon UK and they've got the Prime badge. Do we have to re-register for Amazon.de, for instance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is maybe something that I didn't make very clear. So as part of your UK, if you have just registered as part of your UK selling account, you also get access to the other 4 European marketplaces. So you don't have to pay an extra fee, you don't have to open an extra account. It's all contained within your European Seller Central, so you can toggle between the different countries. You'll see it in the top right-hand corner, and you have all 5 European countries on there. They share an orders page, and a few of the pages they share as well. You do have separate inventory pages, but obviously the stock can be linked in those inventory pages. So yeah, it is included in your UK account.
Okay. Apologies on the pronunciation of some of these names, but Susan Thirakonolrach, I think I've got that wrong, but never mind. I'm thinking of choosing EFN first to test if my health food products sell in other countries. Do I need to set up VAT if I sell less than £85,000? I think you've answered that, Alex.
Yeah, if you're a UK-based business at £85,000, you don't need to start selling or registering right away in the UK. If you're a non-UK business and you are using EFN in the UK, you have that obligation right away. So it just it depends on whether you're a UK-based business or not. But because this is part of the DIT, UK-based businesses have that £85,000 first.
Okay. Question from Ton Martin Wells. Is there a point of contact with Amazon to help launch a brand and/or product successfully in the UK and across the EU? For example, how to utilize advertising within Amazon, how to utilize brand story, etc., how to localize and test adverts on small businesses. So help.
Yeah, so yeah, we have this question quite a bit. The way that the teams are set up here, we are kind of split into different programs, and there are some people looking at different tools like the ones that you've mentioned. It's very much a kind of push-based model, so we get assigned sellers, and we kind of get in touch with them, and we help them through the process. So we don't have a lot of kind of choice in who we work with in that sense. What I would recommend is that we cover all this kind of stuff. We have our own webinar series, and there's a different topic each week. You can go back and watch all of them because they're all recorded. So I'll get the guys to send out a link to the webinar series in the kind of follow-up email, and it will. I think we have quite a few on advertising, on brand stories, and yeah, there's all that information on there. So it's really good to kind of keep up with what's going on there.
Okay, fantastic. I think we're really up against it now in terms of the time. So it just remains for me to say thank you very much to the panelists and obviously for the attendees for their excellent questions. Please complete the survey after the end of the webinar. It really helps the panelists prepare for the next one and helps with the content. Everything is recorded, so within about 24 to 48 hours, you should receive a copy of this presentation. And on the screen, clearly, there's lots of important contacts, so feel free to get in touch with individuals directly or use the website links that you see on the screen. So thanks, guys. Thanks for all your time. I will now end the recording and end the webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.